Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be going through my round for AFL tips plus predictions. Now it is gather round, so every team obviously plays in Adelaide, which does change a few aspects of the game, but yeah, let's get straight into the tips. Let's start off, as we usually do, with the reviews from the round. So on the Thursday night game between Brisbane and Collingwood, the clash of the both undefeated teams. The both of the winless teams who made the grand final. Collingwood with a 20-point upset win. Obviously Brisbane have 2 losses in a row at the Gabba. So yeah, I was sort of mad. I did want to see the Pies go 0-4, but yeah, credit to them. They just played the better game really, and I thought that they were still sloppy. Like, yes, it's a good win at the Gabba, but I feel like there's still lots to work on for Collingwood, but Brisbane are 0-3, so that's very interesting. Then on the Friday, Good Friday clash between Carlton and North Melbourne. Tip Carlton. Actually, last week I did tip North Melbourne, but I changed it late. I know I did say I tipped North Melbourne, but sometimes I do really want to do well in the tips this year, so I did just change it because I thought, yeah, maybe Carlton were probably going to run away with it, and they did in the end. I know I probably won't do this as often where I change my tip, but I just want to get a better result. And I also think on the Friday I did tip Adelaide, but I changed that late again. I apologise. I do want to do well, as you know. But yeah, I was at this game. Go check out the vlog, by the way, my first vlog on the channel. But it was a sloppy game to watch. It wasn't really a massive Freo or 3-0, but yeah, it was a pretty sloppy game there. But great win for Freo. Then on the Saturday, we had St Kilda taking on Essendon. Unfortunately for my Saints, it was a devastating loss because we were the better team. We led for pretty much the whole game. You know, we had that 20 to probably 5-point lead throughout the whole game. Amazing first quarter, but unfortunately Jake Stringer, as we know what he likes to do, he kicked a goal and yeah, led them home to a 4-point victory, so I'm very devastated about that. Then at the Adelaide Oval, I went with Melbourne. I was almost going to change it to Port, but I stuck with my gut, and Melbourne ended up winning. This one was definitely probably the game of the round. It was a high-scoring affair, and literally both teams, this was a tight contest. Port Adelaide did do quite well with all the stats, but I think Melbourne would just run away with it, and so they did. They came out and played. So credit to Melbourne. They are now 3-1 on the ladder. Then we head over to the Sunday morning game, and this was definitely the worst game of the round. No surprises. The Dogs just thrashing West Coast out of the park. They only held West Coast to 3 goals, so that is quite embarrassing for the Eagles. Look, if the Eagles had have converted only a couple, this probably could have been, again, as I said, a 40-point win for the Dogs, but they didn't. So yeah, Dogs were lucky in that aspect, but definitely deserved the win. Then at the MCG, again, I was sort of annoyed at this. I do want to get a good score this round, but Richmond ended up upsetting Sydney. I thought this could be an upset. This could be upset of the round. This was probably the game that was most likely to be upset of the round after the St Kilda Essendon game. It's probably the second most game to be the upset of the round. But yeah, Richmond won, first win under Adam Muse. So yeah, good job there. And then the Monday game, obviously Geelong v Hawthorn, and Geelong in the second quarter and the fourth quarter they probably weren't as best, but in that first quarter they got out to about a 7-goal lead. I was watching it with cousins, my Geelong fans. So yeah, that was a pretty good win there for Geelong. Obviously, it was the rain and lightning delayed the game. So yeah, that was very interesting. But Geelong just the far better side with this nice 6-goal win. They are one of, I believe, 6 teams to go 3-0 this round. So with those reviews done, let's get into the tips. So this is obviously gather round. It's come back around, and of course all the teams are playing in Adelaide just like last year. And we start the night, Thursday, the 4th of April, with Adelaide taking on Melbourne, which I actually rate as a good game. I know that the Crows are still 0-3. It's been a disappointing start for the Crows after, everyone was probably, predicting them to make finals. Really, they should have made finals off of that goal last year that wasn't called a goal. But yeah, this one was It's going to be a tough one for Adelaide. I feel like maybe the pressure's just of them doing well this season just really got to them. They were held to 4 goals. It was an embarrassing performance for the Crows. It wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't like it was the worst game for Adelaide, but it was just still poor around the ground. They're probably one of the biggest losers of the week. Melbourne, on the other hand, great win over Port. They were probably one of the biggest winners over the week. This one's tough because I think the Crows will probably want to bounce back. It's gather round. They're really going to take this up to the opportunity here. And I'm going to tip Adelaide in what you could say is probably an upset. But I just feel like if the Crows go on 4, they're not making it. I know I said probably Collingwood, if they go on 4, they wouldn't make it. But Adelaide are a different team to Collingwood. Collingwood can rebound themselves, whereas Adelaide, I don't really know. They have to win this game. If they lose 2 home games in a row, just like Brisbane, it can really be a bit concerning. And I feel like Adelaide will be able to bounce back a bit. And I'm going to go the Crows in a very nice 7-point win. I think this one's going to be close, but yeah, I think Adelaide will want to bounce back, but credit to Melbourne last week, obviously. If they can get scoring again, because when they were ranked number 1 in the comp for scoring, over 100, they were 8-0, so they'll want to be scoring in this game, and yeah, I think Adelaide with a bounce-back win. Then we move on to the Friday game. Obviously, we have the 2:10 clash between Brisbane and North Melbourne. This game should be pretty straightforward. Even though both teams are winless, I think you just have to go with the Lions here as the easy tip. Norwood Oval, that does change a few aspects. I remember last year in gather round, Brisbane, North Melbourne were, winning at quarter time. Then Brisbane went on the stupid goal run to go win by 75 points. So I think there's a little chance of a North upset, but I just think Brisbane are the far better side. I think they'll be able to rebound, and after a poor loss to Collingwood, even though they are the premiers, it was still a poor loss, and get a comfortable win here. I'm going to go Brisbane to get a very comfortable win in this one. I think North can stick around, but I'll go Brisbane to get a comfortable win by 34 points. It should just be an easy win, really, for the Lions. So next up, we move on to the Adelaide Oval, Port Adelaide hosting Essendon. Again, Port Adelaide being the gather-round team in Adelaide, you'd just think with all their fans there that this one probably should be a win here for Port. Only 9% going for Essendon. I can see this being a good game. I really do. I think that Essendon played outstanding fourth quarter last week. The issue is with Essendon is they can do this. They can punish teams in that fourth quarter, and really they've got speed, but they can't just trail for pretty much the whole game, because that's really going to set them back. So I'll be watching out for that for Essendon. I think this is going to be close. I think all these games, really, apart from a couple, should be close, just considering where the teams are at. But I'm going to go with Port Adelaide to win here. I think they are probably just the better side. I'm going to go with the Power to win by 9 in a very good game. At the Adelaide Oval, I just think their fans will be able to get a good win. I'm going to go with Port Adelaide by 9 points. So next up, we move to the Saturday afternoon or morning game. For me, it's a morning game between West Coast and Sydney. This would have to take, I'm not saying this, but upset of the century. Oh, sorry. Upset of the century. Upset of the decade for sure. If West Coast win this game, I know it's at the Adelaide Hills, but if West Coast somehow win this game, boy, they'd bet the Dogs there last year. Just, you're never safe if you play the Eagles. They'll probably lose like 5 games in a row by over 70 points, and then they'll come and upset you. They upset the best teams, these guys. But Sydney, obviously, comfortable win. They're 3-1. They should have gone 3-4 with a win over Richmond. They're just looking like the better team. West Coast, they just let too many goals go on a run for the Dogs. So, yeah, they weren't able to defend well, but I think this should be an easy win for the Swans. I'm going to go with a massive victory here. I think this should be a thrashing. I'm going to go with the Swans to win by 73 points. I know that's not as big as people probably would have thought, but it should be a pretty comfortable win there. Next up at the Adelaide Oval, this is definitely a game that I'll be tuning into, the undefeated clash between Freo and Carlton. I say this again, 6 teams are undefeated. 6 teams are 3-0 in the season. I think it might be 5 teams because Sydney are in there, but this is going to be interesting because Carlton have never won at the Adelaide Oval. So if you're a Freo fan, you'd take this opportunity to try and go 4-0 since they don't play well at this venue. I think they've played there 5 times and they haven't won a game. Obviously playing Carlton, obviously playing a Port Adelaide or Adelaide, unless they played there last year. But this should be a close game. Hopefully it is. This is going to be a cracker. I want to go with Fremantle, but I just feel like Carlton, they're going to come out strong. They're 3-0. They want to go 4-0 to try and push for a top 4 finish. I think there is a gap between Freo and GWS, Carlton, Sydney, and Melbourne. I really do think that there is a clear gap there. I probably thought that Freo's win over Adelaide. Yes, Adelaide were disappointing, but I just think that Freo probably weren't as convincing as some other teams in there. I don't think they're a top 4 side. Definitely could be a top 8 side with the start. Probably there is a big gap, though, between those 3 teams. So I'm going to go with Carlton to get their first win at the Adelaide Oval in a cracker by 3 points. Next up, we move to the Saturday twilight game between Geelong and the Dogs, and this is probably one of the most even games, as you can see, 59 to 41% for the Cats. The Cats are backed in to get it done. I'm really trying to decide who I'm going to pick here. This should be a pretty good game. This is definitely one of the games of the round. So many good games in Gather Round. The Dogs, they are 2-1, and the Cats are 3-0. So I think this one should be good. And these two sides are similarly ranked. So, yeah, I don't know. Obviously, I think Patrick Dangerfield is still out for this one, which could affect Geelong. But I'm going to go with the Cats. I'm going to go with the Cats to start off the season 4-0. Credit to the Dogs. They've been an amazing form. They bet West Coast by 76 and bet the Suns by 55. So a bit of percentage building there for the Dogs. But I just think that the Cats on their night, they can pretty much do anything really. They could still prove themselves to be a top 4 side really, even though I don't think they're still there yet. Even though they are 4-0, I still think, again, like Fremantle, I still think that there is probably a gap between Geelong and those 3 sides I just mentioned. But yeah, I will go with Geelong to get a massive victory to start off the season 4-0. I'll go with Geelong here to get a win by 10 points. Okay, next we move on to Sunday morning between Gold Coast and GWS, and wow, look at that. I was not expecting to see that numbers. 96 favouring the Giants to just 4% Gold Coast. People need to realise that this is in the Adelaide Hills, which means it's a neutral ground, and even though these sides don't have many supporters on each side, so it doesn't really affect whether it's at home or not, it's certainly one to watch for. Obviously, the conditions are different if Gold Coast are playing at home than GWS, but I could see this being a good clash, really. I think that it's, GWS obviously are the better team. Gold Coast, they've started off their season 2-1, obviously coming off the bye this week, so they'll probably be fresh too. And I think GWS and Gold Coast were the 2 teams that had a bye, so they're playing each other. This should be a good game, but I'm going to go with the Giants. I just think their class is just far from Gold Coast. I know they did thrash them in the preseason, so I'm going to go with the Giants to a 17-point victory. I think it will be around the close margin, but I'm going to go the Giants to win big here and win by 17 points to go 4-0. They'll just be one of 3 teams that will go 4-0 to start off 2024. Then at Norwood Oval, it's the Tigers taking on the St Kilda Saints, my side, obviously, and we are heavily favoured in this one, $1.25 to Richmond's $4 with the upset win over Sydney. I think that Richmond could be favoured a bit more, but obviously I am devastated off that loss against Essendon. That was a horrible game to watch in the 4th quarter. If Essendon probably had kicked straight on a couple more opportunities, it probably could have been a 15-plus point win for the Bombers, really. They killed us in the 4th quarter. Richmond, on the other hand, great win over the Swans. I wasn't really able to watch most of that game, but I heard they were winning by 20 at 3-quarter time. Then they almost choked it, but they were still able to get it done. Obviously, great win for Adam Muse. Look, I'm going to back my side in here. I'm going to tip the Saints to go 2-1. To go 2-2. I think it was poor against Essendon, and I think we'll be able to bounce back. I think that Richmond probably, now that Lynch is gone, that only helps us. We've got King coming back in, obviously. Mason Wood and Liam Henry are still out, which is disappointing. But, yeah, look, if Max King can kick a few and we can get Membry having a good game and, Cameron Eating, he looked pretty good in the other game. He kicked 2 goals. I think we'll be able to win for victory. I'm going to go us to win big. I don't usually go us to win with these big margins. I'm going to go back my side in to win this one by 34 points. I know maybe I'm being too biased there with the margin, but I think that we just are the better side than Richmond. We were able to thrash them last year, and at these weird venues, you never know what could happen. So, yeah, I'm going to tip the Saints by 34. And this concludes the round. We finish off the round with Collingwood taking on the Hawks. The Pies have a chance to, after an 0-3 start, get 2 wins on the trot. Hawthorn obviously disappointing against the Cats. They just conceded too much in the first quarter again. It's the same you get every week with Hawthorn. These slow starts cost them. And even in the second quarter when they look like they're going to come back, it's just too late. I mean, it got down to 4 points. You'd be disappointed if you're a Hawthorn fan. You really would. You need to stop conceding these big margins in the first quarter. They did against St Kilda last year. Who else did they do it against? They did it against Geelong today. They've done it against so many sides. They just concede 30 or 40 points. And then they try to come back, but they can't win because they just give that up too many. So they need to get off to a fast start here, the Hawks, and score a bit more in the quarter. But I think it should be an easy win for Collingwood. I'm going to go with the Pies to win here by... I'll go with the Pies by 43. I think at these venues, I don't know how Hawthorn play in Adelaide, but yeah, I'm going to go with the Pies to win here. So that does conclude the round. I went with Adelaide, Brisbane, Port Adelaide, Sydney Swans, Carlton Blues, Geelong Cats, GWS Giants, and Kilda Saints, and Collingwood. So yeah, that's going to wrap up my tips. Just submit the tips. We will be back on Super Brew next round. Probably I've changed it up a bit these last 2 rounds, going with ESPN. Obviously both sides are good, but we're going to switch back over to Super Brew next week. So yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. See you.